Hello, back again. Back again. I've made or put this video together. Of course, it's not my information. It's other people's information. But I put it together because recently in YouTube, there's just been so much of this narcissism. And although it's been directed at men and women, there's been a lot towards women. More or less hatred towards women. Where women are being abused openly on live hangouts on YouTube. So this is to explain what a narcissist is like and what a narcissist is like in a relationship. And narcissists don't like women. This video will explain it all to you. And I just think it's really disgusting that we're on these platforms where these men are allowed, without any care from YouTube, to treat us like this. Anyway, let the video begin.
Welcome to my latest video blog. Today we are going to be talking about narcissism. I hope you enjoy it and thank you for watching. Often people ask me, what is a narcissist? That's a tricky and sometimes complicated question to answer, because narcissism is really a general personality trait. You can have healthy narcissism, or you can have pathological narcissism. For example, like narcissistic personality disorder, or borderline personality disorder, or antisocial personality disorder. Healthy narcissism could be seen in a 20-year-old who just got his first job and is putting a Facebook status and wants to tell everyone. But there is pathological narcissism. And the difference between healthy and pathological narcissism is people get hurt with pathological narcissism. It's a psychological disorder in which you focus or over-focus on your own needs, while ignoring, diminishing, or marginalizing the needs of others. Often you act in ways that are hurtful. For a broader definition of narcissism, hang tight, because in this video we're going to talk all about it. Why do narcissists get angry when they're confronted? To understand the reactivity or the anger that narcissists have when they get confronted about something that they did wrong or they're held accountable, is to understand what is a narcissistic injury. A narcissistic injury occurs to narcissists when they are held accountable, confronted, or shown that something they did wasn't as they thought it was, hurt someone else, or was incorrect or wrong. The narcissist actually carries a great deal of shame. People wouldn't know that because the narcissist acts grandiose and entitled and they act like they're better than anyone. But really, at the core of each narcissist's personality is a very shame-based person, a person with horrible self-esteem. The difference between someone who does not have a personality disorder, say a codependent, and someone who does, like someone with a narcissistic personality disorder or NPD, is the person with NPD can't bear to think that there's something wrong with them. So their natural inclination, or almost a reflex, is to deny that they did something wrong and blame someone else. Well, that confuses people who are friends or loved ones to the narcissist, because they don't understand why would something as benign as saying that I disagree with your politics, or no, you didn't turn all the lights off in the house, would infuriate a narcissist. To really understand what's behind the anger, the rage, or the narcissistic injury is to understand the trauma that the narcissist endured as a child. See, the narcissist can't or won't talk about it because they blocked it out of their mind. But I promise you that behind every pathological narcissist is a person who experienced abuse, neglect, or deprivation as a child. The deprivation was so damaging and painful and agonizing, they had to block it from their awareness. They had to create a container of sort to keep the shame and the agony and the pain in a part of their memory or their brain so they could not recall it. And so when you confront the narcissist and they experience a narcissistic injury, they can't think about or reflect that they actually made a mistake, because that would bring them to understand how broken they are or how traumatized and damaged they are. So the natural reflex is to blame you, is to refuse that anything is wrong with them. Why are narcissists judgmental of others? As I explained just a few minutes ago, narcissists cannot accept what is wrong with them. Their psychological damage, the trauma that they experienced as a child that was compartmentalized or repressed, is put back very deep in the deepest recesses of their mind. So much so they can't recall it, nor do they want to recall it. But it is there unconsciously. They can't grab hold of or put their arms around how damaged they are. They can't understand that they carry shame and self-doubt. That's too painful. So when a narcissist judges someone, what they're really doing is they're projecting. In other words, they are seeing themselves in other people. See, they can't acknowledge or own their own mistakes. It's too painful. It brings up too many memories. It brings them to the shame that they so deeply and so completely try to push down. But they can see what's wrong with other people. That makes them feel good. That gives them what I call a pseudo self-esteem boost. When a narcissist points out what's wrong with this person or that person or someone else, it gives them this false sense of superiority, this sense that they're better. Again, to remind you, narcissists have horrible self-esteem and they don't know it. And in order to combat or fight those deeper unconscious feelings of being inferior or unworthy, they have to find what's wrong with others in order to make themselves feel better. And as I explained a second ago, they project. There's a saying that a therapist once taught me, and it is, if you spot it, you got it. And if you ever notice when a narcissist judges someone, and you know that narcissist well, they're actually talking about themselves. And it's almost always accurate. The narcissists don't like judgmental people. They don't like people that show off. They don't like know-it-alls. Well, those are narcissistic qualities. Why do narcissists act superior and entitled? Well, the narcissist, in order to maintain this false or pseudo self-esteem, they have to somehow refocus their innate feelings of brokenness, their innate feelings of unworthiness. The narcissist who acts like they're superior than others or entitled, or for that matter, grandiose, they think they're bigger and better than they really are. It's really an overcompensation of how badly they feel, but they can't acknowledge. So what they do is, at any opportunity, they want to show the world, they want to prove how good they are and why they deserve special recognition, why they are entitled to get better treatment than others. Really, the inverse is true. They feel much less worthy of others, and they feel more shameful about it. But they can't and they won't ever think about it because it's too painful. So what they do is they assume that they're better and they want people to treat them as such. It's just a compensation for that part of them that is repressed, that is connected to how deeply impaired they are psychologically. welcome to my latest video blog. Today I'm going to talk about covert narcissists again. There's no coincidence that that video was one of my most viewed videos. There is something about covert narcissism and how upsetting it is for those who learn about it for the first time. But more than that is to realize that there has been or there is a covert narcissist in your life. They are the worst type of narcissist, the absolute worst. Think about it. Covert narcissists thrive by pretending to be something they are not. Altruistic, kind, empathetic, connective. They pretend to be codependents. And as I explained in detail in my YouTube video on covert narcissism, they get what they need out of life by creating this false self, this facade that gets them the money, the respect, but all at the same time, they're in these relationships where they're hurting people and behaving pathologically narcissistic behind the scenes. But what I want to talk about today is what to do when you find yourself in a relationship with a covert narcissist. It is most of all, first and foremost, disturbing because you have bought into the image, the persona of the kind, benevolent, giving person. And don't we all want to believe that the person who we're in a friendship with, the person who's our therapist, our rabbi, our doctor, our husband, wife, don't we want to believe that the kindness is true, that they really care about us and that the empathy is not BS? But when that facade comes crumbling down, it leaves us with a gaping hole of wonder. What the hell happened to us? How could we have been so foolish? The first thing I want to say to all of my YouTube viewers, if you are a victim of a covert narcissist, please don't be so hard on yourself. They thrive on being able to fool. They thrive on being able to deceive. Not because they're sociopaths or liars, but because they can't get what they want if the world knows who they really are. So my advice is don't beat yourself up. What I teach my clients and those who come to my seminars or watch my videos is that in self-love deficit disorder, or the new name for codependency, is that the narcissists thrive and survive on our bad self-esteem. So the worst thing you can do when you uncover a covert narcissist is to beat yourself up and to think that you're stupid and you fell for it, and to just ridicule and drag yourself across the coals. You are just one of many, many victims of this person. The second thing I recommend is to calm down. When you uncover the covert narcissist's real motives and you finally understand that what you see is not what really is, if you uncover it and you bring it to light, especially in public, they have everything to gain by making you look bad, making you look irrational, by making you look mentally ill, or just to intimidate you and berate you until you actually recoil and admit to them that you were wrong. So let me repeat it, is to not call them out, especially in public, because there is too much at stake for them to lose that audience, that group of people, that job that supply them not only their narcissistic riches or narcissistic rewards, but sometimes their job. The third piece of advice, once you discover that your loved one or someone with whom you are in a relationship that is a covert narcissist, you're not going to call them out. You are going to decide on a way to exit the relationship, a way to terminate the relationship without an obvious confrontation. come up with an exit plan. Make this exit plan carefully thought through and carefully executed. If the covert narcissist discovers your exit plan, say it is to terminate the relationship, say it is to break up the relationship, is to seek a divorce, and you decide to call them out, to pull the mask off, they are smart enough, manipulative enough, and they have too much to lose not to discredit you and turn it around back to you. And remember, as most of my viewers know, because my videos resonate for codependent audiences or those who are in recovery, remember, it's just not what we do well. We are not good at holding our ground and setting boundaries with manipulative narcissists. So the next step is to create a boundary of protection around you. Because just by the mere fact that you have created an exit plan and you have executed the exit plan, that in itself will get the covert narcissist nervous. They're smart enough to know that if you are not part of their followers, you are not part of the audience that loves them, that craves what they have to give, and you back off, get cold, set even the most minor of boundaries, they're going to know something is wrong, and again, have a lot of reason, have a lot at stake to turn the situation around on you, to make you look bad, to restore them to their covert narcissist facade. The next step is to understand how passive-aggressive covert narcissists are. And I cannot say this more, I cannot emphasize this enough. When you find out that someone is a covert narcissist, you uncover them, they're probably going to find out because, we're human. As I say, you're probably not going to win if you take them on directly, because they're smart enough, manipulative enough, and they have legions of followers who believe in this image of perfection and kindness and love. Their passive-aggressive ways will be able to take all of their followers and all of the people that drink their covert narcissist Kool-Aid, and they will be able to get them to understand what is wrong with you. In a way, we call this projection. You, the threat, who knows exactly who they really are, who can expose them, who calls them out, they have everything to gain by making you look bad. And because they're covert narcissists, they don't do anything direct. There's no direct aggression, there's no direct confrontation. It's passive-aggressive reactions. The retaliation is manipulative, sometimes hidden in what seems obviously kind, benevolent, and even appreciative actions. And then, but when the passive-aggressive covert narcissist is going to fight you back, and they're doing it, as I said, behind the scenes, they have to do it in a way that protects their image and their facade. So the way that they do that is they set you up to look bad. They antagonize you. In a way that gets you to defend yourself, to attack them. This is the technique that you hear not so healthy psychotherapists use, where they use their psychotherapy superiority to defend themselves and to turn you against yourself, and to through a fancy use of words and dysfunctional analysis is to protect themselves by being the person that suggests you really are the problem and not them. There's many words for this, but many people consider this mind manipulation. The last thing I want to say about how to deal with covert narcissists is to understand the degree of danger involved. I know personally that every time I've called out a covert narcissist, and I think of famous YouTube person. I think of a psychologist, a therapist. I think of a boss. I think of a friend. And it has always been a difficult, uphill battle to not only survive, but to get out of it unscathed. I have to admit that I made a lot of mistakes trying to do it the right way, which is why I'm doing this video. The wrong way was to assume that my intellect or my ability to argue a point could be as good as theirs and take them on directly. In almost every case, it resulted in this long, extended argument, whether it was through email or face-to-face. But ultimately, in almost every one of the cases, I would find out behind the scenes how much time, energy, and even money the covert narcissists expended, resources that they expended, to not only dismiss my claims, but to make me look like the bad person, ultimately resurrecting their image and their reputation. So to all my YouTube viewers, do not take on a covert narcissist directly. They have everything to gain by making you look bad, and their whole life story is about the manipulation of others, their perceptions, their feelings, their expectations, and to manipulate them to believe they're something they're not. So if you, no matter how right you are and how righteous you feel, want to take them on, there's a good probability you're going to lose. So cut your losses, identify their covert narcissism, come up with an exit plan, initiate it or execute it quietly without a lot of confrontation. Be prepared for the battle, which is for them to passive-aggressively manipulate you and put you in a bad light to make them look like the victim and you the perpetrator, and get the hell out of the relationship. Don't argue with them, don't go on a public forum, don't try to prove your point, because that's like wrestling with a pig and hoping you won't get dirty. And by the way, pigs, as George Bernard Shaw said in a saying, pigs love to wrestle in the mud. Ultimately, to achieve self-love, which really is the goal of every codependent or person with self-love deficit disorder wants, is to disconnect from those pigs who love to wrestle with the mud. Is to just get out of the relationship and find either a space where you can find yourself and nurture yourself and love yourself, and then reconnect with others. You'll find those are the ones who are really themselves. What you see is what you get. And I'll tell you, after being in a relationship with a covert narcissist, you will really appreciate it. So find a way to heal the wounds, to love yourself, to reconnect yourself to what's important to you and what you deserve, and then those relationships will happen, and you'll never again be subjected to a covert narcissist. And God forbid, if one should come your way, you'll see that mask before they bat an eye.
My name is Sam Vaknin. I'm the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited. Do narcissists hate women? Are they misogynistic? Women are sources of narcissistic supply, which the narcissist craves, but they are also sources and fountains of intimacy, which the narcissist fears and abhors. Narcissists are addicted to a drug called narcissistic supply. Primary narcissistic supply is any kind of narcissistic supply provided by people who are not meaningful or significant others. Adulation, attention, affirmation, fame, notoriety, and even sexual conquests are all forms of primary narcissistic supply. They emanate from people who are casual and occasional in the narcissist's life. Secondary narcissistic supply comes from people who are in repetitive or continuous touch with the narcissist, such as his spouse or his lover, or even his colleagues at work. Secondary narcissistic supply includes the important roles and functions of narcissistic accumulation, which means remembering and witnessing the narcissist's moments of glory, and narcissistic regulation, which is reminding the narcissist of these moments of glory when he is running low on narcissistic supply. Narcissists therefore need women to carry out both these functions. They are dependent on women to some extent. But narcissists also abhor and dread getting emotionally intimate. Sex is perceived as the ultimate form of intimacy. Hence, narcissists try to avoid sex altogether or to transform it into an impersonal act. Cerebral narcissists regard sex as a maintenance chore, something they have to do in order to keep their source of narcissistic supply content and around. The somatic narcissist, on the other hand, treats women as objects, sex as a means to obtaining narcissistic supply. Thus, the narcissist frame of mind is reminiscent of that of the European male well into the 18th century. Women and children are perceived to be property, chattel. Their role is the unconditional and prompt gratification of the narcissist. Moreover, many narcissists tend to frustrate women. They refrain from having sex with them. They tease them, then leave them, resist flirtatious and seductive behaviors, and so on. Often they invoke the existence of a girlfriend, a fiancée, or a spouse as the reason why they cannot have sex or intimacy or develop a relationship. But this is not out of loyalty or fidelity or in the empathic or the loving sense. This is because the narcissist wishes, and often succeeds, to sadistically frustrate the interested party. But all this pertains only to cerebral narcissists, not to somatic narcissists and not to histrionics, people with histrionic personality disorder. These, the somatic and the histrionic, use their bodies, their sexuality, and techniques of seduction and flirtation to extract narcissistic supply from others via sexual conquest. Otherwise, cerebral narcissists are not interested in women, and somatic narcissists are, but only in this limited sense. Narcissists are misogynists. They team up with women who serve as sources of narcissistic supply. A woman's chores are to accumulate past narcissistic supply by witnessing the narcissist's moments of glory, and release this information, this witnessing, in an orderly manner in order to regulate the fluctuating flow of primary supply and compensate in times of deficient supply. Most of the narcissists, especially the cerebral ones, are actually asexual. They desire sex very rarely, if at all. They are hyposexual. Narcissists hold women in contempt and abhor the thought of being really intimate with them. Usually, they choose partners who are submissive women, whom they disdain for being well below their intellectual level. This kind of choice, self-defeating, even self-destructive choice, leads to a vicious circle, a vicious cycle of neediness and self-contempt. The inner dialogue of the narcissist is, I need this woman to provide me with narcissistic supply, but how come I'm dependent on this inferior creature? And hence the abuse. The narcissist reasserts control and his superiority and his omnipotence by abusing his spouse or his lover. When primary narcissistic supply is available, the woman is hardly tolerated. As one would reluctantly pay the premium of an insurance policy, the narcissist maintains the relationship. Narcissists of all stripes regard the subjugation of an attractive woman to be a source of narcissistic supply. Both cerebrals and somatics like to subjugate women. Such conquests are status symbols, proofs of virility, and they allow the narcissist to engage in vicarious narcissistic behaviors, to express his narcissism through the conquered woman, to transform these women into instruments at the service of his narcissism, into his extensions. This is done by employing defense mechanisms such as projective identification, which we discuss in other videos. The narcissist believes that being in love is actually merely going through the motions. To him, emotions are mimicry, and pretense. He does not believe that anyone has true feelings. He believes that people are acting. Narcissist says, I am a conscious misogynist. I fear and loathe women and tend to ignore them to the best of my ability. To me, women are mixtures of hunters and parasites. Most male narcissists are indeed misogynists. They hate women. After all, they are the warped creations of women. Women gave birth to them, and women molded them into what they are: dysfunctional, maladaptive, and emotionally dead. Narcissists are angry at their mothers. By extension, they rage and abuse all women. Narcissist attitude to women is naturally complex and multi-layered, but it can be described using 4 axes. A woman is either a holy or whore, a hunter parasite, a frustrating object of desire, or a unique creation. The narcissist divides all women into saints and whores. He finds it difficult to have sex, which is dirty, forbidden, punishable, and degrading, with feminine significant others, such as a spouse or intimate girlfriend. To him, sex and intimacy are mutually exclusive, rather than mutually expressive and mutually enhancing propositions. Sex is, as far as the narcissist is concerned, is reserved to whores. In other words, all the other women in his world, not the significant ones, not his spouse, not his mother, not his girlfriend. This division between saints and whores resolves the narcissist's cognitive dissonance. I want her, I don't need her, I want her, I don't want her. These inner conflicts are resolved by saying, I don't need her, she is inferior. I want her because she is a kind of object of gratification. This division also legitimizes the narcissist's sadistic urges. Abstaining from sex is a major and recurrent narcissistic penalty inflicted on female transgressors. It tallies well with the frequent idealization devaluation cycles the narcissist goes through. The idealized females, in the eyes of the narcissist, are sexless. The devalued females are deserving of the degradation via sex, and they are deserving of the contempt that is attendant to sex. The narcissist believes firmly that women are out to hunt men by genetic predisposition. As a result, the narcissist feels threatened, as any prey would. This, of course, is an intellectualization of the real state of affairs. The narcissist feels threatened by women and tries to justify this irrational fear by imbuing women with objective, menacing qualities as huntresses. Well, this is just one small deal. The narcissist pathologizes others generally, not only women, in order to control them. The narcissist believes that once their prey is secured, women assume the role of body snatchers. They abscond with the male's sperm. They generate an endless stream of demanding and nose-dripping children. They financially bleed the men in their lives to cater to their needs and to the needs of their dependents. Put differently, women are parasites, leeches, whose sole function is to suck dry every man they find and tarantula-like decapitate him once no longer useful. Is this a reflection of the narcissist's behavior, or what? Yes, true. The narcissist projects his own modes of behavior, his own traits, onto women. This, of course, is exactly what the narcissist does to people. Thus, his view of women is mere and absolute projection.